Okay, you're gonna see a little bit of my mic because I can't figure out how to still make sure y'all can hear me. Hey y'all, I'm Lucha. Welcome to our practice diaries. This is an art series where I talk about what my art practice is teaching me, what I'm learning from art, and what it's teaching me about being a person and stuff. I want to set things up since this is the first time I'm showing my face to y'all. So I intend these videos and these series to be for other artists who are also artists of color, neurodivergent, queer, trans, working class, and for the content to be through an anti-capitalist lens as much as I can, and with an emphasis also on collaborative art instead of just doing art in my own little room. For that reason, sometimes the stuff I make is going to resonate and sometimes it's not. And also a lot of my what I make or what I communicate, I intend to be taken more as me sharing approaches and how I've navigated different situations in my life that pertain to my art practice, and hopefully provide more questions for you to answer for yourself rather than give you answers. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do here, and I hope that I accomplish that today. Let's get on to it. Today, I want to talk about the ideas that follow us, the ones that for many complicated and legitimate reasons we don't get to fully realize, or we haven't gotten to, either because we haven't tried or the first or second attempts didn't work out. But these ideas won't leave us alone. For me, the idea is this series, audio, video, lesson sharing series, and I keep coming back to it, and it's been a few years. It's grown with me through how I want to communicate it, what media I want to use to communicate it, and it stayed with me because even though I've started it in different ways, in different forms, I eventually honestly end up dropping it or get distracted and kind of forget about it. And maybe that has to do with my ADHD as well, but I keep coming back to it, and I want to share some of the tasks, methods, things that, looking back, I feel like have helped me to stay committed to this idea, to keep coming back, and even if I stop, it's okay. But yeah, I want to share what has been helpful for me, and I hope that it's helpful for y'all as well. Before I jump into that, I do want to give a big caveat. I think inevitably because of the format of this kind of content, this kind of videos, it might give the idea that this process is easy or simple, or I'm aware I cannot give a step-by-step guide because each of our issues and our lives are different and complex. Only you know what problem solving steps are required for your particular situation. For me, or what I can say about my experience is engaging with the scary, quote-unquote, scariest parts head on have been what has pushed me to commit and really believe in my ideas. And I want to divide it into 3 different parts. And those are engaging with the fears, 1, engaging with the obstacles, 2, and 3, to try to figure out why the idea is important in the first place. Okay, so engaging with the obstacles has shown up as separating what's within my control and what isn't. Separating is also not something that I've gotten once and I'm like, okay, I'm ready, let's go, let's move on. But often it requires me going back. If I've written a list, for example, I need to come back to it. Or even if it's like a physical list or a mental list, I keep coming back to it. Was I right the first time? What else have I learned? Right? And also, even if you can separate what's within your control and what isn't, I honestly, like, some of the obstacles that are outside of our control are freaking overwhelming and awful. And sometimes the obstacles that are within our control are also overwhelming, just in a whole other way. Um, so yeah, it's hard, and I'll keep coming back to that. I'll keep saying that because it is. For this particular idea, I think though, once I figured out some of them, some of the things, like, okay, I can control this. What was really nice about it was, like, I was able to focus so much better, and actually, it got a little bit easier to be able to just put all my energy into what I could do and not worry about the rest as much, just focusing on that, and actually doing the work, physical work, even if sometimes it was just figuring out the very first step and that was it. 2, engaging with the fears. It has looked like many things for me, but the first step I can confidently say with engaging and identifying the fears, has been acknowledging the messages that keep playing in my head, that keep replaying, that were specifically keeping me from showing up and doing the thing. And for this one, I have an exercise suggestion just because it helped me a lot when I came across it. So this is from The Artist's Way by Jullia, which is a workbook. If you're curious about that, please look it up. I'll make sure to link it in the description as well. But yeah, one of the exercises from that book was to make a list of what your fears are. Specifically, what your fears tell you. Like, what are the messages that keep replaying in your mind? And to offer a counterpoint for each of them. For example, one of mine that continues even now to replay in my head is, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to make this series? Like, who cares? Who's gonna care, right? And the loudness has grown a little bit quieter and doesn't get in the way as much, but it's still there, to be honest. Anyways, my counterpoint is, I'm just a person and it's okay. I'm not out here trying to be the universal voice of anything, and that's fine. Honestly, I don't want that kind of pressure. And if I remind people this is from my point of view, then I feel better, and I cannot control how people perceive me, period. So that's my counterpoint. And on these two, I also, before I move on to the next one, I do want to say, like, not only are fears and obstacles a natural part of the process, which honestly took me a long ass time to learn, but engaging with them is an integral part of the work of making ideas happen, period. Like, you can't move forward without actually engaging with them, and they're always going to be there. And of course, having self-compassion through this is so important. Like, don't personalize it, or don't take it as a personal failure that you have these fears and obstacles in the first place. Like, I think it's, especially in a capitalist world that wants us to believe that structural obstacles are somehow personal failings, and that's just a bunch of bullshit. Okay, so finally, figuring out why this idea is there, why the work matters to me in the first place, has been very, very grounding, especially on days where I honestly just don't even have the energy because of everything that's been going on, especially lately. And it's very tempting to put it off indefinitely. So yeah, figuring out why the work matters to me. Journaling has helped me a lot, sometimes written or even audio as well. But I think it's the kind of thing that requires slowing down and just being present with yourself, to actually tune into yourself. And it might, like the others, it might take several tries before you actually get to the core of it. But it's worth it. And sometimes even, I think one last thing, sometimes even when the clarity came to me once, it actually needed to keep coming back a few more times before I actually internalized the message. It's hard. why is it worth putting this much work in the first place? Why try? Basically, you know. And I want to invite you to hear me for another minute. Just give it a try. Pay attention to what comes up for you as I'm sharing these things, even if it's just skepticism. Okay. What if your dreams are worthwhile? What if leading a life that feels purposeful to you, especially in such daunting and precarious times, is even more valuable right now? What if you showing up for you has the capacity of impacting others in positive ways we cannot anticipate? What if it has the capacity of impacting you and giving you the self-confidence to continue showing up for yourself in ways that surprise you and make your life feel more fulfilling, feel more alive? What if it doesn't have to look like somebody else's definition of success, and it just has to feel true to you, joyful, truthful, and fair? What if your ideas as they are now are enough to just get started? Okay. That's pretty damn cool, right? I hope so. Well, this is all I got. If something resonated and or you got thoughts, let me know, please. And I'll see y'all later. Oh my gosh, this is so long. Bye. So I make art